Hi, it's Rich from Planet PE. It's Thursday, so as always, that means it's video day. So today's video is all going to be about performance-enhancing drugs. Now, I normally do this at the end, I'm going to do it at the start today. Please like the video, please subscribe to the channel. Remember, these are free resources, free videos for you to try and get better at your GCSE exam. So, performance-enhancing drugs, let's go. So the first thing that we're going to look at is about doping. So you'll hear the term doping a lot in your exams and also within the media. And what doping means is that we're taking a substance to try and improve our performance. So we're trying to win. If it's not going to make us any better, it's not going to improve our performance, then it's a waste of time doing it. So all these different athletes who you might have heard of, who have taken lots of drugs, who have then maybe been banned, haven't done it for the sake of it. They have done it to get better at their sport. Now, every single performance-enhancing drug is going to have a different effect on the body, and that's what we're going to look at today. So we're going to start by having a look at Lance Armstrong. So if you don't know who Lance Armstrong is, he won 7 Tour de France's. He's the ambassador for Nike, or was, and for Oakley, and if any of you had the yellow wristband that was Livestrong, that was his company. Now, he is a notorious drug cheat, if we're going to call him that, where he took lots of different substances to try and improve his performance. So let's have a look at the interview that he did with Oprah and try and pick out some of the things that we can use in our GCSE exam.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
Yes or no? Was one of those banned substances EPO?
Yes.
Did you ever blood dope or use blood transfusions to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
Did you ever use any other banned substances like testosterone?
So watching that Lance Armstrong clip there, you can see that there are some substances there that he has taken, and some of them that are unique to improving your endurance, which is very, very important in long distance cycling, which is what he did when he was a Tour de France cyclist. So he said there that he'd taken testosterone, he said that he'd taken something called EPO, and that he had blood doped. And they're the main ones that we're going to focus on to start off with. So let's just try and go into a little bit of a reason about why he might have taken those things. So that first one is EPO, and it stands for something like erythropoietin, and it's a man-made product. So it's not something that necessarily occurs naturally in the body, it's something that they have created in a laboratory. Now that's half the problem, is that the labs are always slightly in front of the testers, so therefore they're not always testing for the things that people are taking. So EPO is a drug which is going to increase the amount of red blood cells that you have. So you think about if you are exercising and you've got more red blood cells, it means that we have a much higher capacity to carry oxygen. So therefore we have a higher aerobic capacity. And what that's going to mean for a cyclist like Lance Armstrong, or a runner who might be doing something like the marathon, is that you're going to be able to go for longer at a higher intensity. So you won't fatigue as quickly. So that's one reason of why somebody might take EPO. So it's that idea where we're going to basically have more oxygen because we have more red blood cells. The next one we're going to look at is blood doping. And they talked about on that video about blood doping or blood transfusions. And essentially it's the same thing. So what happens there is that an athlete will have about 1 litre of blood or a pint of blood taken out of their body. Now over time the body will work to then create more or new blood. So therefore it's got its normal amount. And what happens there is that after that, the blood that has been previously frozen as it was taken out is then put back into the athlete. Now the result of that is that you have more blood. Now that's going to be a good thing for the athlete, because if you've got more blood, you've got more red blood cells. Fantastic. It means that we can get more oxygen around the body, just like we spoke about when we spoke about EPO. However, there are a few health issues. So if I've got lots of red blood cells around the body, there's a much higher chance that I'm going to be maybe suffering things like a blood clot, because your blood is just heavier. It's going to have more almost sediment in there because of all the different blood cells. And that's going to maybe cause us some problems. So despite the fact we get more red blood cells, I get more oxygen around the body, there is some health risk to it. Also, the fact that we're using needles, the fact that we are going to be taking blood out and putting blood back in, there's obviously that infection risk, and that's one reason, again, why people use their own blood. So that's what blood doping is. So we have EPO and blood doping that pretty much do similar things. So they're two different ways that somebody might dope to try and improve their performance in an endurance athlete's activity. The third one is anabolic agents. Okay, we used to just term this steroids, but the problem with just steroids is that they were just an old synthetic testosterone. So basically, it meant that you could be more aggressive, you could work harder for longer, and you'd recover quicker. But it now includes anabolic agents and some of these sort of peptide hormones that we talk about with growth hormone. So again, Lance Armstrong talked about that. And what we're getting from these is that, yes, we're going to get an increased strength, an increased size of muscle, increased power, those sort of aspects like we would if we were doing lots of weight training. But it's not just a drug that if I take, I'm going to get a benefit. It's what we call a training drug. So if I was to take anabolic steroids, if I was to take human growth hormone, what it means is that as I cause these micro tears in the muscles, I'm going to repair much faster. So if you and I were training and we were doing exactly the same things, you might train on Monday, I'll train on Monday, but I'm taking steroids. So what it might mean is I can train on Tuesday at the same intensity as on Monday, whereas you might be a little bit sore or stiff. Maybe on Wednesday you take the day off, and on Wednesday I'm training. So already I'm a day ahead of you in your training. So if you think about that over a long period of time, what it means is that I'm going to get more of my training, so therefore I'm going to improve my my performance or get those gains or get those benefits or adaptations much quicker than maybe somebody who isn't taking it. And that's a problem, because when we then ban athletes, one of the issues is that they've had these performance enhancing drugs in their system, and we're saying there that suddenly, well, if we ban you, you've not got those benefits anymore, which actually they don't know how long some of those last for. So one of the issues with doping is that we can't necessarily trust people who have doped in the past, so therefore that's a reason why we would ban those athletes, possibly for life, if they are people that have done it more than once. So the next type of drug is a beta blocker. Now, a beta blocker is something that is going to be used by someone who does fine skills, so things like archery people, maybe snooker players or golfers, things like that are going to require maybe those finer skills and precision. And what a beta blocker does, it actually reduces your heart rate. So it means that we're going to be less anxious, we're going to be nice and calm. Now, particularly for an archery player, it's really, really important, because archers actually fire between the heartbeats. So if you could think about, I'm going to be in here, going da-dum, da-dum, I'm going to then fire the arrow in between heartbeats. So if I can get my heart rate to be as low as possible, I've got more chance of being successful. So that's why somebody would use a beta blocker. It's not going to be useful for somebody who does long distance running. It's not going to be useful for anyone who's a power athlete. It's those people that do those fine skills. Next up are diuretics. So tea is an example of a diuretic. So caffeine is a diuretic because it actually makes you to get rid of lots of your excess fluid. So when you are exercising, you might want to be lighter than you actually are, and that comes around in our weight category sports. So you think about boxers, maybe judo, lots of the martial arts, they compete in weight categories. Now, I want to be as strong as that weight as I can. So if I was Anthony Joshua and I'm a super heavyweight, it makes no odds to me, because they can be as heavy as they want. Whereas somebody like Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, they have to be at a certain weight to fight in that fight. So Conor McGregor in the UFC, fights at something like 170 pounds. If he's over that weight, he can't fight at that weight. And some people find it quite difficult to make the weight. So what they might do is they might take a diuretic, which is something which is going to get rid of all that excess fluid. Now, water's quite heavy in your body, so it's a good way of losing weight very, very quickly. The issue with that is that you can cause lots of dehydration. There's been boxers that have died because they have lost weight too quickly, that they've actually been dehydrated going into the ring. Same with some of the MMA fighters. So diuretics, again, it's going to be used to try and get as light as you can, as quickly as possible, but there are those downsides as well. And the final one I'm going to go through today are stimulants. So stimulants are something that somebody might take and they're going to try and improve their reaction time. So if I was a sprinter, the advantage that might give me is I might get a faster start. If I was a goalkeeper in football, I might be able to respond quicker to the ball, so therefore I might make more saves. Things that require that reaction time are going to be the activities that the stimulants are going to help. Now, caffeine is an example of a stimulant, but so are some of the recreational drugs like ecstasy and things like that. But it's typically things like amphetamines is that people might take to try and increase their reaction time. Now, again, some of the issues with taking those sort of things is that we can cause a lot of dehydration. We can get some increased chances of things like heart attacks. Okay, and we can get some long-term damage if we're continually dehydrated. So they are our main sources of doping and drugs. Now, there are some further questions that you need to understand about the reasons why people take drugs that we spoke about at the start, but you also need to understand maybe some of the problems with people taking drugs. So with that, if you think about Usain Bolt is the fastest man that's ever ran the 100 meters. And lots of people that have ran less fast have failed drugs tests. Now, one of the issues with people doping is that you could say, well, here they must be doping as well. So it actually takes away from the achievements that people make. Now, the other reasons that people might dope is that they might think that other people are. So they think, well, it's just going to level the playing field. So that might be a reason why people dope. But again, there are lots of moral reasons why people shouldn't. It's cheating. You're probably going to get banned from the sport if you are found to be cheating or doping. So there are these counteractive measures why people maybe shouldn't dope, or why the sport doesn't believe that that's obviously something that is part of the game or the activity. Okay, so there we are with our doping. So hopefully it's going to help you going forward in your exams. And again, as I said at the start of the video, please try and click the subscribe button and like the videos. I'm now on Instagram, which is planet_PE. And also on Twitter with the same one. So you should find this easier on Twitter because you've got lots and lots of followers. So I'm going to try and put lots of videos up on Instagram as well, and some of the quizzes and questions to try and help you guys out. But as always, put it in the comments, try and get involved so that I can try and help you if there are topics that you are not sure of. Okay, so in the comments, if you want a video for next week, okay, try and put it in the comments so that I can try and respond to that and try and get these videos up as soon as possible. So good luck with your exams, guys. See you next week.